How's it going, all you college football fans? We're going to be talking about the SEC today, the super power conference of the team and league of the future. So, as you remember, my name's Andy Van. I'm going to be talking here with Willie T about some SEC football. What are you thinking about, Willie T?
Yeah, man. Talking about the SEC football conference tonight. We all know it just means more. They have some big dogs that have been competitors the past few years on the national stage. And without further ado, let's get into it, talking about the big boy, the king of the SEC, Alabama. They lost some talent on the offensive side of the ball last year. They lost Jalen Waddle as well as Heisman winner Devonta Smith. They also had a brand new quarterback in Bryce Young, who's a sophomore, didn't see much action last year. And they may be in for a game first week against Miami. So what's your thoughts on Alabama?
Oh, you also forgot they're losing out on Najee Harris, left for the draft and is part of the Pittsburgh Steelers now. You also had Alabama go pretty heavy into transfer portal, picking up a few good players that'll help solidify that defense. So this could be a typical Alabama team, one that relies on a game-managing quarterback, superior talent on the perimeter, fantastic run game, and an elite defense. I think it's going to be a little bit more of back to basics with Alabama.
So
Go ahead.
I think we're both of the opinion that Alabama is still more than likely going to be the top dog of at least the SEC West, and probably, I would say, of the entire SEC conference.
I mean, you gotta dethrone them in order to be the king, and no one has been able to do it consistently.
All right, well, let's see. Moving on in the SEC West, we have Texas A&M. As we discussed a few days ago, Texas A&M, it's do or die time for them. They're ranked inside the top 10. It's yet another Jimbo team. They just announced their new starter today, starting quarterback, who looks to give them a pretty good chance to compete. How do we feel about Texas A&M, especially competing in the SEC West?
I mean, that's the only pitfall. If Texas A&M happened to be in the SEC East, I would go ahead and chalk them up as the SEC East champions. But with the new quarterback coming in, replacing Kellen Mond, I'm not quite sure what to expect from the team. I haven't been paying close enough attention to their quarterback competition or their camps to know where they're at. But this team is going to have a great defense. It's going to have a good offensive line. And they recruit in the SEC level, so they're going to have perimeter guys. Are those perimeter guys going to be good enough to beat the likes of Alabama? So far, no, but they're getting there.
Yeah, we'll have to see. From what I've seen on the Twitterverse, Haynes King gives them a good opportunity to at least win some ball games. They say he's a ball player. We'll have to see how he performs. Rolling on down the list in the SEC West, we have Auburn. Auburn turns over a new leaf this year with head coach Brian Harsin. They also stole offensive coordinator Mike Bobo from the University of South Carolina, and there's some hype surrounding that program. How do we feel about Auburn rolling into the season?
Auburn is a weird team. They'll fire a coach, win a national championship a year or two later with a new coach, fire that coach, and then go win a national championship with the new coach about 2 years later. So I think we're gonna see a decent Auburn team. We're not gonna see a great Auburn team. And then next year we can start talking about this being a more contending Auburn team.
Yeah, Auburn returns starting quarterback Bo Nix, who is known to be a bit of a wild card. He has a really good arm, but has been known to be inaccurate at times and make some really stupid decisions with the football in his hand.
Stupid decisions is an understatement for Bo Nix.
Bo Nix has all the talent in the world and very little execution.
That could just be a byproduct of the coaching staff that was there before. So I'm interested to see if they're going to be able to utilize the talent that Bo Nix has in a meaningful way this season at Auburn. And I have no doubt with this coaching staff that they'll find a way to have Bo fit the system. So I'm going to move on to the next team for us to talk about. The team that some people are projecting to be a dark horse for the season because of the talent that's on the roster. I know you're not all too much of a fan, but go ahead and give me your take on the LSU Tigers.
LSU Tigers is everybody knows if you've watched any of our previous episodes, I am not very high on LSU. I'm not high on Coach O. LSU, their starting quarterback is hurt as of right now, I think out indefinitely. They had a lackluster season last year, albeit the roster was loaded with five-star talent. They just couldn't get their act together. I see a similar situation happening again this year. There's some hype building around the program where they may be able to really compete in the SEC West, but honestly, I just don't see it. As soon as Joe Brady left that offense last year, we saw it return to its lackluster form, as well as when the defensive coordinator left, we watched the defense somewhat fall as well. It will be, at most, I see them winning 5 or 6 games within the conference and losing quite a few games that they shouldn't. What is your thought on LSU?
I mean, outside of Joe Burrow, name a quarterback for LSU within the past decade.
I really can't.
That's the problem is, in today's game, the quarterback is the deciding factor. I don't care how much perimeter speed you have. We saw it with Notre Dame having Chase Claypool and Miles Boykin against Clemson. Players were getting open. Ian Book just couldn't hit them. The same with LSU. They have players like Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry passing through, but with nobody's throwing to them. So, can they get a Joe Burrow type season from another quarterback, or is Coach O going to be looking for a job by the end of the season? Because I don't feel like they're going to have much more patience with Coach O. He was already on the hot seat before the national championship, and if after last season, he's definitely not on a cool seat.
No, I think that he's on a hot seat as far as football program success goes, but also on the hot seat due to the large amount of scandals surrounding the team at this point in time. There's been quite a few different ones break related to assault and stuff I don't really want to get into, but I think that just couples to make his hot seat even hotter. They have to come out swinging and essentially make it through this gauntlet somewhat unscathed, I think, if he wants to continue to retain his job and not be looking for one midway through this season. So, rolling on to another dark horse team is Ole Miss. How are we feeling about Ole Miss?
Enjoy freshwater we trust. Lane Kiffin will guide this team to new heights of 8-5. Offense will be great. Defense is going to lose them about 5 games.
That's my current opinion on it as well. The offense may score 100 points, but the defense will allow 114 to be scored. We know that Lane can really put together just dominant and potent offense, but it seems like the defense is always lacking, and that's what I expect to see out of Ole Miss coming into year 2.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Mississippi State Bulldogs. What do you think about the Mike Leach air raid system now taking the SEC by storm? By storm, I mean the one time that they beat LSU and got all the hype in the world from the ESPN experts.
Well, we saw Mike Leach do okay at
Washington State.
Washington State. I wanted to confuse it with Washington. I always lump those in for some reason. But we saw the air raid do pretty well there. He produced Gardner Minshew, who went to the Jaguars and had an okay season last year. But point aside, we saw the air raid struggle in the SEC last year. And with that, we also saw Mike Leach lose a lot of trust from his players. A lot of players transferred out for various reasons. Maybe he's a hard coach to play for. Maybe his schemes very difficult to understand. But it appears to me that maybe finally he's got a couple guys in the system that may buy in and kind of weeded out all the bad eggs. And I expect them to do at least a little bit better this year, probably more towards the bottom of the SEC West. But I expect him to at least win a couple more games and at least be more competitive in the vast majority of games they do play.
I think it's going to be a regression. Number one, the SEC West is not getting any weaker. Arkansas is on the rise, so someone's naturally going to have to take that last spot. And the air raid just does not transfer over against SEC defenses. like it did against the Pac-12 and while he was at Texas Tech in the Big 12. Defense is a big boy sport in the SEC.
We will have to see how it goes, but he very well could be on the hot seat here soon if he doesn't get the team turned around.
Well, what about Arkansas, the team I was just talking about? What do you think about Arkansas? Because I'm very much on the train that Arkansas that they finally got the right head coach. The one thing that's been missing for the longest time since they fired Bo Pelini years ago for his motorcycle wreck.
My most improved team pick is Arkansas. We saw where Sam Pittman came in last year and was able to get the team fired up and somewhat start to turn the car around from going the wrong direction. I believe that he brings in a lot of passion to the game and a wealth of football knowledge and is really working to right the ship per se. Hopefully we'll see that continue this year. I don't know much about Arkansas as a whole, but I sure do expect them to do better than they did last year.
All right, so we're done with the SEC West today, guys. Hit us up tomorrow, and we're going to be going over the SEC East because, let's be truthful, the SEC is turning into that power conference, so it's got to be a two-part series. So don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button. That's been the Overtime College Football Podcast. Andy Van checking out.
Yeah, and this is Willie T. Checking out. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel, the Overtime College Football Podcast. You can hit us up on Twitter at Overtime or at Overtime CFP. Our name is the Overtime College Football Podcast. Or feel free to email us at overtimecfp@gmail.com. As always, we appreciate you tuning in and look forward to bringing our thoughts on the SEC East tomorrow night. Thank you and good night.